Between the period of the second night of Pesach and Shavuot, we count the Omer each night. We call this custom Sirat HaOmer, the counting of the Omer. The actual law that requires us to count the Omer is found in this week's Parsha, in the Parsha of Emor. It states, Usfartem lachem, you should count for yourselves. There is an additional counting which is actually mentioned in next week's Parsha. That's the Parsha of Bahar. And it talks of the counting, not of the Omer, but rather the counting of the Jubilee year. We have every 7 years a sabbatical year, and we have every 50 years what's known as the Yovel, the Jubilee year. If one looks carefully at the Hebrew, there's a distinct difference between the counting for the Sfira, for the Omer period, and the counting of the Jubilee year. It says Usfartem lachem in the plural with regard to the Omer, and with regard to the counting of the Jubilee year, it's Usfarta lachat, it talks of the singular. The Gemara teaches us an interesting lesson, and that is that the reason for this difference is that the responsibility for the counting of the Omer, as we know, is upon each individual person. Each one of us individually has the responsibility to count the Omer. However, on the other hand, when it comes to the counting of the sabbatical year, when it comes to the counting of the Shemitah year, the 7-year cycle, the 50-year cycle, that is not a responsibility that each individual has. Rather, because it's written in the singular, we understand that that is the responsibility for the Sanhedrin, for the Beth Din at the time. They were responsible as an individual body to count on behalf of the people, and individuals didn't have this responsibility. I want to share with you an interesting comment that Rabbi Jonathan Sachs makes with regard to the difference between these two countings. He tells us that from here it's implicit a very important lesson with regard to the concept of leadership. Individuals, the average person that counts the Omer, we count the days. The individual, the average person, can foresee days, whether it be a few weeks, whether it be 7 weeks. They look at the short term. However, leaders, the Beth Din, the Sanhedrin, leaders, they have a greater vision. They don't look at days, but rather they look at the years. They look at the long-term solutions. That is the difference between a person who is a leader and a person who is not a leader. This concept is echoed in Pirkei Avot, where we are taught that Ben Zoma came to teach us who is a wise person, and he gives the answer, Haro'et Hanolad, the person who foresees the long-term consequences of decisions, the long-term consequences of what a person says. This is the importance of leadership, long-term vision. Take the opportunity of wishing you all Shabbat Shalom.